Hello and welcome to a very spooky reading of The Month of Fear. This is pen written by Henry J. Kitolza. And start reading. In the city of Kitazen, the land where my people came from, the 10th month, called October by your tongue, is a holiday most unholy. You may not know this holiday or its name. I find that a great shame. Every year we share this story on the first of the month of fear. We gather around and tell this tale that I tell you now. If you listen very well, you are very wise. On the last day of the month of fear, you may receive a gift, although as dreadful as it may be, you may wish you did not. Those who founded the city of Kitazen worship gods of old and created a city in their name. They prayed to keep the city well, as did those who came to call the city home. They grew, and time passed and passed, until they forgot the old gods. Maybe the old gods were angry. Maybe this was the plan from the start. But one year, the first of the 10th month, it begun. Spiders crawled out of every corner. The beating of bat-like wings were felt. The crackling of ancient witches could be heard from every wall. The air turned cold. Clouds grew thick. Everyone knew something was different this year. A few shared nightmares starting that day. One nightmare in particular. They dreamt of counting down the days to the last of the 10th month, and a city where no mortal or human was in sight. The streets were filled with ghouls, monsters, and undead things that terrified even the strongest of will. Those who did not dream this dream doubted the few who did, until the days passed. The first week of the 10th month, the spiders spun their webs of inky black, captured things so large that even the mightiest warriors feared they would be next. The people of the city began to whisper stories and tell others this must be punishment for forgetting the gods of old. They told themselves only if we knew how to pray, they would be saved. On the 3rd day of the 10th month, they noticed the first hand of onyx. Pillars of black grew in the homes of a few, like arms reaching up from the ground, with 5 outstretched fingers at the top. Horrifying people with wings of bats stepped out of the pillars. The people who lived in the homes were not seen anymore. The people of the city whispered about what sins and crimes those taken made to the old god. They tried to understand what they did, how the others could atone to be free of those sins. The few wise, knowing, counted that never was there more than one pillar in a home. Those wise enough built onyx pillars of their own in their homes in hopes they not come for them. The creatures of bats demanded trinkets and gifts left at the pillars, and the people did so, even the ones who built their own. More pillars grew as the weeks went on, with ghouls and undead things emerging from them. Those who made their own pillars were spared this fate. As the first week closed, and another came, the wicked cackling grew louder in the homes where the pillars grew. Hags and ancient witches stepped through to this world. Following the witches and hags were creatures that grinned with sharp teeth, those who laughed and laughed endlessly, and creatures with white eyes that saw all. Creatures of madness they were said to be. Again, those who once lived in those homes were not seen again. The wise saw that no home with mortals left would survive, so they chose to dress as those who stepped out of the pillars. They dressed like the undead things, and the crackling witches. They dressed as things never seen before, but still were terrifying. More and more creatures poured from those pillars, all speaking of a time soon. On the 19th day of the 10th month, they all began to celebrate and dance. They danced and screeched. Every day was filled with fear and madness, and undead roamed and growled. Every night they would all chant in a maddening tone. Ktazn Tulden Ka Zin Ka Agden Glenvok. Ktazn Tulden Ka Zahindent. Houses were decorated and dedicated to fear. The spooky ones tried to scare all who explored. People grew more and more fearful as the celebrations became louder and stronger. Not a single mortal or human could be recognized on the street, as they all dressed as the ones who stepped out from the pillar. Gifts and trinkets piled up at the foot of the pillars, as those who came from the pillars excitedly opened ones they thought they might like. They enjoyed the gifts of bone and ghoul, soft stuffed things, as well as the wooden toys, painted in scary ways. They loved the sweets most of all, and were happy when they found their box contained that. The last day came, the 31st of the 10th month, and all went out to the streets in a parade. Celebrations and feasts were had until the moon fell down and the sun threatened to rise. Late in the night, the celebrations stopped. The creatures from the pillars turned to where they came. Those who were missing stumbled from their homes, speaking of madness and fearful times. The true pillars crumbled to pebbles, but the ones made by the wise stood still, with gifts still wrapped at the feet. In the end, they never learned how to pray to the old gods or their names, but they did learn what to do in this month. At least if they were wise. Make a pillar of black and leave gifts for what may spook. What is left on the 31st, that is for you. Please, I beg of you, do that last. Make a pillar, wherever it might be, in your room, the living room. Maybe give it some finger-like protrusions at the top. Leave gifts at it to the 31st of October, to when all can open. I strongly believe the best way for Halloween to survive is for it to be a gift holiday. One that people gladly share spooky gifts with. One that people get excited for every year. Excited to spend on. It'd be a great and spooky time. But enough of that. Thank you very much for all of you who came and watched. I am sure you had a spooky time and will have spooky times to come. If you haven't already, please leave a like and subscribe. I appreciate every single one of you, every single like, every single subscription. If you have the means to do so, please hop on down to that description or the first comment pinned and join my Patreon. Be one of my spooky bloodlings who know the secrets I tell there. Thank you very much for coming on. Thank you very much for watching. Have a very good evening. And watch out for that spooky creature right over there. Goodbye.